Hello, ladies and gentlemen. We are here today. Now, what am I talking about? Well, Carson Hocevar figuring out real quick that dirt racing competition is 10 times more difficult to compete in than NASCAR. That's how it goes when the competitors don't need a $3.5 million check to get onto the racetrack. Welcome to the jungle from the NASCAR playpen. Now, we have a defender in here, Jamie, taking a picture with his icon. Don't be hating. You have no clue about others' financial support or lack of. By the way, Karin is one of the nicest guys. Let's not mention that it's his second time ever racing a dirt late model. Jamie says, and okay, how about guys like Chase Briscoe who couldn't afford a sprint car? His family had to shut their doors, so he moved to North Carolina and had to volunteer at race shops and living on couches for several years before someone gave him a shot. This is where we get into the meat of the sandwich. I had to break this down. Jamie, do you know who Kevin Briscoe is? USAC legend, Chase Briscoe's dad. It is based on money, wealth, nepotism, monarchy. Whether someone has generational wealth or is picked by someone who has wealth, they are being paid for / sponsored millions to even be in NASCAR. And when it costs that much to race, not everyone can afford to compete in NASCAR. Therefore, the competition is whittled down to rich kids and a few guys that rich people pick to sponsor, no matter the merit of their ability. Chase Briscoe was an average dirt racer, for example. But those without generational wealth or paid for to be in NASCAR are out here racing short dirt and asphalt tracks. And out here, you don't get to outprice the competition. You have to face guys who have worked their way into the race car they're behind. And the price tag to be in that car isn't in the millions. Therefore, there is more competition. This is why I say all the time that NASCAR is full of Tim Tebow / Johnny Manziel players paying to play on a field that Tom Brady and the Patrick Mahomes tight talents can't afford to play on. And when someone like Carson comes and tries to play against these guys, he's going to get smoked by them. Because these so-called lower levels of racing are not lower in competition. They are simply lower in income. Thus, the exposure on how racing is based in classism. Which is why some racetracks even call the different divisions of the sport different classes. And in the example of NASCAR to dirt late model racing, both of those statements are true. Tyler Carpenter tried a truck at Knoxville and went from the back to second in one lap, and the TV media ignored that. Carson tries dirt. Gets called Clay Knight by the media in a heat race he wasn't even in because Clay Knight, he was running up front. Then in his actual heat race, he goes from the front to the back in one lap and gets praised for even trying the sport. This is also why I say racing exposes the true segregation in America. You get treated differently based on how much money you have, not skin color or religious belief. And here is the example. Tyler got ignored because he doesn't have the money to be a NASCAR driver, and Carson got praised for trying dirt because he is a NASCAR driver. Talk about full circle with the classism of this sport. Then he goes on to reference, and this is a good point by Jamie, and I would love to address it. I live in Southern Indiana. We have the same local tracks. I know Kevin doesn't have that kind of money. Okay, whatever. Generational wealth. Okay. What about Bobby Pierce, Moyer Jr., Hudson O'Neal, Timmy McCready, Donnie Schatz, Sheldon Haudenschild, the Kensers, and the list goes on. You are right. You are right, Jamie. This is something that needs to be talked about, and I responded how we need to be talking about it. Jamie, the difference is the dirt guys still have to face those without the generational wealth because it isn't in the millions to compete. I agree that even on the highest levels of dirt, you have to have some good money to race. But the sport isn't controlled to the point that a guy can't start racing an IMCA modified at 25 and work his way into a super at the age of 35 or 40. You can earn enough money to race on dirt. But to earn the money needed to race in NASCAR, it is impossible to do that by the age of 18. which is the age range that NASCAR and their controlled system of car owners and OEM manufacturers seem to pick from. But the dirt racing world has opportunity for grown men and women to work their way to the highest levels. It, of course, will have those from generational wealth, but it has room for those who work for it. And this is also a reason I personally try to give exposure, clout, and attention to the other divisions of dirt, like IMCA modifieds, crate/lower engine cost divisions of the sport, because the same can partially be said about affordability. It just isn't in the tens of millions like NASCAR. This is why in the dirt racing world I stand up for the guys who don't get those opportunities. That's why I have Kyle. Everybody thinks I'm a big Kyle Larson fan. No, I'm not a big Kyle Larson fan. I've been standing up for the other guys who aren't as lucky to hit the NASCAR lotto that Kyle Larson did. Now, he has talent. He has a hell of a lot of talent. But there's a lot of guys out here who have a hell of a lot of talent too, but they just didn't hit that lottery. No rich guy came to them when they were a little boy or girl and said, I want to put all this money behind you because I like you. Now, why is that the situation in racing? I do not want to even guess. But it's a system. It's real. It's not false. And you got to have some generational wealth or this or that behind you. Even a Ross Chastain, watermelon farmer. Oh, let's go see how much watermelon farming makes. I have a feeling that any farmer's not, scraping to get by. Especially with how big his fields are, apparently. Hopefully, with this new internet world, people can see this and learn how the world works. And now your support local racetrack meaning has a whole new reason to support it. Wow, I got me a world champion fighter down the street. He just didn't have the money, man. That's fucked up. You're telling me Patrick Mahomes is down the road? He just didn't have $15 million to pursue a NASCAR career before the age of 18? He couldn't rent the ARCA, the K&N rides, the super rides. He couldn't rent a $300,000 Keith Coon midget ride at 14. Oh, and no big old investor came and found him. No big old man with a bunch of money came to him when he was a little 12-year-old or 13-year-old boy or girl and said he wanted to give him some money to help him out because he likes him. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that's what I think on that whole subject. That's my sermon of the day. A lot of people say they like the truth. Well, there's my truth. That's what I think. That's what I think. You go ahead and tell me what you think in the comment section. Be sure to like, subscribe to the channel, share this video around. It's something that I think a lot of people who don't know about racing, you sit there and say all day, everybody knows this is how it works. No. People don't know what I just told you. Perception is reality, ladies and gentlemen. We got to change how people perceive the local racetrack. And these types of examples, I believe, is what's going to change that.
But this is how we ride, this is how we do.